Hey guys, welcome back. I was gonna do a shop video this week, but nature of my shop, big secret, it's actually not always clean. I know, surprising, because it is a working shop. So this week, I want to talk about 5 things that you need to know when buying a high-end guitar. Not too long ago, Brandon released a great video on 5 things you need to know when buying your first guitar. But that's not necessarily my biggest realm. I like to deal with really, really nice guitars because I think that guitars are something that are a great passion that we can all share. And by having a better tool, because let's face it, a guitar is a tool to express your musicality, having something great really will help you as a musician. So first and foremost, much like what we discussed with Brandon, first thing, you gotta have a good budget in mind. And you have to think about the budgetary aspects of it. So that means, do you want to spend between $1,000 and $3,500 or $4,000, or $5,000 to $8,000, or $8,000 to $15,000? Because these are kind of the general price ranges we should be looking at. The reason being, between $1,000 and $3,500, you kind of have the essence of a good guitar, something that will last you a long time. You can use it almost forever if that's where you are, and that's perfectly fine. You can get some really great instruments at that $2,000 to $3,000 price point, and they can last you a lifetime. I know a lot of professional musicians who use a $2,000 to $3,000 guitar every day. It may be their gigging guitar, but they sometimes prefer that to some of their higher end instruments. Okay. And then the next breakdown, $5,000 to $8,000. Okay. $5,000 to $8,000. You're getting a great guitar. You could live with that for the rest of your life and never, ever have to go up from there, because you can find a real gem. Maybe you find a luthier who is just starting out. You actually have a chance of a great, great, great guitar that will last you forever, and you'll never have to change. And if that's your goal, then perfect. You can get that done and out of the way. At that $5,000 to $8,000 price point, you are getting an instrument that has everything that you want in terms of sound, tone, color, playability, feel, materials. At that point, we don't even talk about the material quality, because at this point, everybody is saying, I use only the finest. And if everybody uses the finest, then we're all dealing kind of on the same plane of materials. So what you're going after at that point is your playability, your sound, and the clarity and definition of the notes, as well as the cohesiveness of the guitar. Now, again, at the $8,000 to $15,000 budget, that's just taking everything and elevating it, refining it, and going beyond that. Above $15,000, $20,000, you're starting to get into the highly collectible, and at that point in time, we don't really talk about price. We talk about history, provenance, and so on and so forth. So that I'm kind of excluding. So when you're buying your first high-end guitar, you kind of want to keep those price points in check. Okay, number 2. You gotta have a good, clear idea of the sound quality that you're looking for, because at this point in time, you are looking at a longer-term relationship with this guitar. I fear to use the I word, meaning investment, because I'm not a broker, none of that. The sound of your guitar will actually kind of dictate the path that you go for. So it's an investment in your musical statement. So if you decide to buy a guitar that has a really bright treble end and deep thuddy basses, you might start playing out the middle of the guitar more, because the top end and bottom end are a little bit more effortless to play. Or if you buy a guitar that's really, really cohesive, but it's just really quiet, you might develop a stronger hand. So when you're dealing with the sound of your guitar, that's really an investment into your own playing directionality. And again, no matter what price point you're at, any of these will work great. The third thing you need to know when buying a high-end guitar is the adjustability. because at this point in time, we're not just buying something off of the shelf. We want to make sure that it's playable. So that means changing the string spacing at the nut, maybe changing the action height. Or if you're a really, really great player who's really, really strong, one of the things that I do quite a lot is I'm just going to refret a guitar for somebody because they love the sound. They love the, maybe they love the action height, but because they're a stronger player, they're causing more motion in the strings. So they need a different relief on the neck. That is something that you can always look at. Now, things that cannot be adjusted, in my opinion, are the sound of the guitar. Okay, you can't buy a guitar and say, I love the way it sounds. Can you go in and shave the braces? Because to me, that's like saying, I've seen the Mona Lisa. I can do better. Hold on, give me the original and I'll paint on that. So you don't ever want to adjust the sound of the guitar, but what you can do is adjust the nut, the nut height, the nut spacing, and along with that, you can adjust the saddle or the relief. All of that is perfectly fine. One thing that I would love to see more are clear plates on guitars. To me, as somebody who does a lot of repair, I can tell you that there's a lot of great guitars that would still be in existence if they had a plate on it. It's not just for flamenco, but what it does is it puts a very gentle barrier between you and the instrument. The player can have the freedom to express yourself fully without worrying about the overall condition of your guitar. Because like we said, some of these can be really expensive, and if you are scared to play it, that's going to come across in your music. So you want to remove that boundary between you and the playability of your guitar in order to create the best freedom of expression in the sound of your instrument. Number 4 is what has happened to it in the past. You know, when you are buying an $8,000 guitar from a maker where their guitars are $12,000 to $15,000, you have to ask, why is it such a better price? You know, has it been retopped? Has it been messed about? Has it had cracks? Has it been dropped? So on and so forth. And nowadays, I find that the repair quality, not just in my shop, but overall, is generally pretty good. So you aren't going to be seeing these glaring repairs. So it's a matter of understanding the condition, and it can be as simple as a little flashlight and a mirror stuck inside to see if there's been any repairs that have been done. A lot of dealers, not me, but a lot of dealers will go out and have guitars repolished or refinished in order to get them looking new, because I will admit it, a shiny guitar is very tempting, especially if you think, oh my goodness, this is in great condition. I don't like to do that because to me, that's all history. And by doing that, you're taking away the history of the guitar. So you want to have a good understanding of what has been done to the guitar. Now, if you are willing to accept that there's been some cracks and whatnot, you can probably find a really great bargain. I mean, I have several guitars here. I'm not going to name names, but I've got some great guitars here from great makers that have had extensive repairs done to them. And you can get, you know, one of your bucket list guitars for not that much money because of those repairs. It doesn't change the sound. They sound incredible, and you get to have one of those great pieces, but conditionally, it's not perfect. So it's going to, you know, there's some trade-offs there. All right. The 5th thing that you need to know when buying your first high-end guitar, you need to think about your long-term collectability of this. Okay. And it sounds kind of strange to say long-term collectability, but, you know, I, for one, am a big fan of Ramirez 1As. The problem is that they made a ton of them. Basically, they were all of the workers in the Ramirez shop were required to make 5 guitars a month, 12 months a year. That's a lot of guitars. So that means that there's a lot of guitars out there. And yes, a lot of them have been broken and have fallen away due to neglect, poor repair, and so on and so forth. But guitars like that, do almost a disservice to themselves because there are so many of them. And if you don't love that one, but you want a Ramirez, keep looking, find another one. On the other hand, if you want a great guitar like a Boucher, he only made 170 guitars. So you want to make sure that, you want somebody who's got experience, who does a lot of work. You don't want a guitar that is necessarily factory made, because there's going to be so many of them. And so who knows what the long-term price point will be. Don't buy a guitar from somebody old expecting that their values are going to skyrocket. You want to buy a guitar that you absolutely love. And here's your bonus number 6. You want to look at the trade-in policy of whomever you're buying from. If you're buying from a friend, I would still suggest having a trained luthier look at it. And by trained luthier, I mean somebody who actually knows these things, not the guy who set up 3 guitars and calls himself a luthier. You want to make sure that if you become an even better guitarist, because a lot of times when you get a new instrument, you start practicing more and you become a better player. So maybe you didn't jump up quite enough, which is fine. But if you're going to take a several $1,000 hit on the trade-in of your instrument, you don't necessarily want to do that. And for me, at my shop, if you buy it from me, I'll give you what you paid for it, as long as it's in relatively the same condition. Because as I learned from my father, I've sold it once. I'm willing to sell it again because I love these instruments. So, with that said, thanks for watching. I know this is, different, but I love the fact that you guys are commenting and supporting. Reach out on Patreon, and that's where I'm taking a lot of questions. Use promo code YouTube for $500 off, and come and visit me. I'd love to see you in the shop, and you get a chance to play some of these, like this great Hauser over here, a Fleda, or a few others. Until next time, see ya.